diminished. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari. Thank you. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari. Gopijana Balava Divanadari. Gopijana Balava Divanadari. Jasodanandana Brajanaranjana. Jasodanandana Brajanaranjana. Jamunitira Vanatari. Jamuna Tira Unatari. Jeraru Marava Kundabihari. Gopi Chanda Balava Divanadari. It's a bit high. Jasodanandana Brajanaranjana. Jamunatira Bunatari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari. Gopremanandi. Jai Vishnupada Paramhansa Priya Vijakachaya Siddhat Shishmati Divine Grace Abhaicharan Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki. ISKCON VBT Founder Acharya Jagaguru Srila Prabhupada Ki. Anantakara Vaishnava Vrinda Ki. Nam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki. Prem Shri Ghosh Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki. Say Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki. Vrindavan Dham Ki. Mathura Dham Ki. Dwarka Dham Ki. Navadi Dham Ki. Jagannapuy Dham Ki. Jamuna Maya Ki. Ganga Maya Ki. Tulsi Maharan Ki. Bhakti Devi Ki. Sambhita Bhakti Vrinda Ki. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Say Radha Giridhari Ki. Shri Krishna Sankirtana Jagaki. Gopremanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the divine lotus seat of Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Well, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana namaskritchan naram chaivam narottama devim sarasatim vyasam tato jayamudirayat. What is the other? Narayana namaskritchan naram chaivam narottama devim sarasatim vyasam tato jayamudirayat. Before beginning our study of the Srimad Bhagavatam, we should first offer respects to the personality of God, Narayan, the Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, the goddess at living Mother Saraswati, the author Srila Vyasadeva, and my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada. The Bhagavatam is as brilliant as the sun. It's arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied with knowledge, religion, etc. Persons who have lost their vision to the dense darkness of the age of Kali should get light out of this Purana. So we are on text 4th canto. Hold on a sec here. Chapter 30, just starting chapter 30. And we're on text 2. And I did some research on the benedictions of Lord Shiva, but I forgot to print it out. So we'll see how much my flea brain can remember, but in a moment you'll understand why that's a relevant point. So Kim Bahaspatya Yeha Paratra Vata Kaivalya Nata Priya Parshva Vartinaha Asadya Devam Girisham Yadrichaya Prapu Param Nunam Ata Prachetasaha Kimbarhaspatyeha Paratravata Kaivalyanata Priya Parshvavartinaha Asadya Devam Girisham Yadvichaya Prapur Param Nunamata Prachetasa Kimbarhaspatyeha Paratrayata Kaivalyanata Priya Parshvavartina Asadya Devam Girisham Yadvichaya Prapur Param Nunamata Prachetasa. Anyone else want to take a try at it? Okay. Kim, what? Barhaspatya, O disciple of Brihaspati. Iha, here. Paratra, in different planets. Va, or. Ata, as such. Kaivalyanata, O bestower of liberation. Priya, dear. Parshva, Vartina, being associated with. Asadya, after meeting. Devam, the great demigod. Girisham, the Lord of the Kailash hill. Yadrichaya, by providence. Prapu, achieved. Param, the supreme. Nunam, certainly. Ata, therefore. Prachetasa, the sons of Barishat. Translation. My dear Barhaspatya, what did the sons of King Barishat, known as the Prachetas, obtain after meeting Lord Shiva, who was very dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the bestower of liberation? Certainly they were transferred to the spiritual world, but apart from that, what did they obtain within this material world, either in this life or in other lives? I'll say you say. My dear Barhaspatya, what did the sons of King Barisat, known as the Prachetas, obtain after meeting Lord Shiva, who is very dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the bestower of liberation? Certainly they were transferred to the spiritual world, but apart from that, what did they obtain within the material world, either in this life or in other lives? Purport. All types of material happiness are obtained in this life or in the next life, on this planet or on another. The living entity wanders within the material universe in so many species of life and so many planetary systems. The distress and happiness obtained during the span of life is called Iha, and the distress and happiness obtained in the next life is called Paratra. Actually, Lord Mahadev, Shiva, is one of the great demigods within this material world. Generally, his blessings bestowed on ordinary people mean material happiness. The predominating deity of this material world, Durga, is under the control of Lord Mahadev, Girisha. Thus, Lord Mahadev can offer anyone any kind of material happiness. Generally, people prefer to become devotees of Lord Girisha to obtain material happiness, but the Chetas met Lord Mahadev by providential arrangement. It's interesting to note, Prabhupada points out in another purport, that the devotees of Lord Vishnu are, generally speaking, materially poor, either by choice or by arrangement. And we find that the devotees of Lord Shiva are often quite opulent, materially. And yet we find that Lord Shiva, whose devotees are all material opulent, is very austere, living under a bael tree, so many different things. And we find Lord Vishnu, who's the husband of the goddess of fortune, that his followers are, generally speaking, poverty-stricken, or, on simple means. So it appears to be a contradictory conundrum. So that's part of the theme today, to think, what's that all about? Along with the thread of blessings and benedictions and what do we want? And, of course, the ultimate bottom line, happiness. Okay, that's the setup. Now we generally, people prefer to become devotees of Lord Girisha, to obtain material happiness, but the Prachetas met Lord Mahadev by providential arrangement. Lord Mahadev instructed them to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he personally offered a prayer. As stated in the previous verse, Rudra Gitena, a song of Lord Shiva, simply by chanting the prayers offered by Lord Shiva to Vishnu, the Prachetas were transferred to the spiritual world. Sometimes devotees desire to enjoy material happiness also. Therefore, by the arrangement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the devotee is given a chance to enjoy the material world before his final entrance into the spiritual world. Sometimes the devotee is transferred to a heavenly planet, like Janaloka, Maharloka, Tapaloka, Siddhaloka, and so on. However, a pure devotee never aspires for any kind of material happiness. The pure devotee is consequently transferred directly to Vaikuntha Loka, which is described here as Param, meaning the Supreme. In this verse, Vidura asks Maitreya, the disciple of Brihaspati, about the different achievements of the Prachetas. Om Gena Tamarandasya Gyana Gena Salakaya Jakshu Shun Militan Gena Tazare Shi Gurave Namaha. So just as a sidelight, little history, there was his name was Kamal, somehow that stuck in my mind. And Kamal from India was always on the devotee's case that why don't we worship Lord Shiva, why don't we worship Lord Shiva? And in those days, anyway, I'll finish. And that really we should be worshiping Lord Shiva. So he was always stuck on this. And you can imagine the devotees, especially in those days, we were allergic to anything to do with the demigods. And they would pound on him, and it was a constant tussle. Now, this is, 75, something like that, because we were in the old temple in Detroit. And Prabhupada came. And somehow at one of the darshans, Kamal slipped in. And Kamal asked Prabhupada that, can't we worship Lord Shiva? You always stress Vishnu, Vishnu, but we should be worshiping Lord Shiva. And to everyone's surprise, Prabhupada said, yes, you can worship Lord Shiva. This is very good. So we were all, and he was, you can imagine, what is the right word? Not gloating. He was gloating in a certain way, and the devotees were, bewildered and ready to wring his neck. And then Prabhupada was expert at waiting for the right theatrical pause. Prabhupada would wait just the right amount of time. And then Prabhupada said, yes. And after many, many, many births of worshiping Lord Shiva, the benediction will be that you'll meet a devotee of Krishna who will deliver you. So that was the benediction. Of course, we offer the deepest respects because Lord Shiva is the greatest of Vaishnavas and all those things, And there's the Rudra Sampradaya. But the Prabhupada was making the point that ultimately you need a devotee of Krishna to save you, And if you don't see Lord Shiva in that capacity, as it's described here, you'll just ride around and around and around, this life, that life. Anyway. So there's that. Whatever we want, whatever we're aspiring to now, we've already had it. We've had it, we lost it, and we're going to get it again. So instead of all these, you looking for something? Just shanti. Yeah, these are all distractions, Prabhu. Hey, I'm talking to you. Listen. These are all distractions for you and for others. We've already had it. We're praying for what we already had. And so what if we've had it, we've lost it, and we'll get it again in due course of time, what should we understand? That it's just, what is the use? Even if I get it, I'm going to lose it. And if I lose it, it's going to come back to me. Prahlad Maharaj says that, well, let's ask it this way, as he asks it. Anyone here looking for unhappiness? Do we have any closet masochists who want to out themselves here in an Oprah moment? We're not looking for distress, generally speaking. Alex, do you ever experience distress? Do you look for it? So what does that mean? What is the other side? We're all looking for happiness. Aren't we looking for happiness? But as misery comes unsought, what will also come unsought? Happiness. And therefore, should we be chasing after happiness or chasing after distress? Or should we understand these come, as it says here, by the will of providence? And let us just get about our real business. That's intelligence. That's the when the light goes on in the human form of life, up, down, and all around the town. Isn't there a song, uptown, downtown, all around the town, or whatever it is, or some, up, down, Ferris wheel, round and around, and what? Can't hold on to it, and it'll, wait long enough, and it'll come around again. So if Lord Shiva, still within the capacity, okay, well, those who, as I've said the other day, those who say money can't buy happiness don't know where to shop. Well, I'd know how to hold on to it. I'd know how to, we're, each one of us thinks that, well, if I had that money, or if I had that situation, or I'd enjoy it, or I'd be able to maintain it, yeah. Although it's not true, we all think it. It's one of the many illusions of it's like Prabhupada said about Allen Ginsberg. Prabhupada said Allen Ginsberg, the poet, he doesn't have the ordinary man's illusions. Which you think, oh, he's free from illusion. Prabhupada said, no, he just has a different set of illusions. He wasn't chasing after money, but he wanted fame and prestige, and he had all kinds of other desires. He just didn't have the ordinary set of desires. He just had a different set of desires. So we're all in our own way chasing after happiness. And we're thinking, we would know how to do it. So here we have Lord Shiva. What is his benediction? Now, Lord Shiva gives a lot of different benedictions, and I regret that I failed to print that out and bring it over. But I did some research, and in the Bhagavatam, there's a lot. I found 12 different examples. How many can you find? 12 different examples of benedictions by Lord Shiva. Benedictions to people. And a lot of them are, well, of course, 10th Canto is a summary study of the Krishna book. But and see if you can see a pattern here of these benedictions, because if we were able to obtain the top of the pile, Durga is the goddess Parvati, Durga Devi's running the material nature. So Prabhupada says if you got the $1 million, all your $10 issues are solved. If you go to the president, that takes care of the county supervisor or the mayor. So if you go to Durga Devi, who's controlling the material nature, and you go to her husband, Shiva, who's controlling her, you pretty much got the end of the line, your hand on all the levers, right? So let's look, and let's see if you can see a pattern of the result of getting the highest pinnacle of material happiness. Getting that benediction, which we're all in the core of our heart, at least to some degree. Of course you're all Vaishnavas, but you got the idea. So Ravana, let's see, who can guess some great devotees of Lord Shiva? Well, I already let one out of the bag, Ravana. He's a great devotee of Lord Shiva. How did that work out? We have to look at the end of the line, Didn't work out so well. Who's another person who received a benediction from Lord Shiva? Oh, okay, who said Brikasura? So Brikasura, how did that work out? Cracked his own head. That didn't work out well. Now, somebody said another person. Who's the other? Banasura, who, by the way, with his 1,000 hands, he pleased Lord Shiva. One of the ways he pleased Lord Shiva is he could play a lot of instruments, especially drums. You got 1,000 hands, you could pretty much hear your own symphony, Just picture that scene. And while Lord Shiva was doing his dance of destruction, Banasura is there as an accompanist. But how did that work out, you know? There's also Salva, who had his airplane flying in the sky. You know, one of them, and then Salva's son, I forget whether it was Salva's son or Salva himself, got a benediction from Garga Rishi. Anyway, it's one of those long, Mahabharata stories. But for 12 years, he survived by eating ground iron to get Lord Shiva's blessings, I mean, you got to be pretty serious about that, I mean, sometimes the kitchen here may be a little stiff, but, ground iron. I don't know if he took his ground iron with salt. I don't know the answer to that, But and this, so Salva got his iron airplane flying in the sky. But how did that work out? How do they all ultimately end? So now let's see who else I was thinking of. Oh no, who's the Kalyavana? Kalyavana, the untouchable. He got a benediction from Lord Shiva. I forget what that anyone he looked at. I forget how it worked, but he had one of those benedictions. And how did that turn out? So, yeah, he got burned up by Muchikunda. So, and there was another. No, there's another one who had a fire weapon, and he got Lord Shiva's. No, not the Shiva Dwar. There's another weapon that Arjuna also got. Yeah, and it's super hot. It's a super hot weapon. And then Lord Vishnu, defeated it. So my point is that they all get all these very powerful benedictions to control material nature and be, riding high. What is that? Riding high in April, shot down in May. It's some song. So they all end the same way. They end ignobly. And that's the point. To look down the road, how does it all end? Even you get, whatever it may be. So the point here is upon meeting Lord Shiva, what is the question? Anyone remember from this verse, what is the question that is being asked? Okay, fine. We understand that they went back to Godhead, they obtained liberation, we understand all that, but benedictions, but also he asks very specifically, what did they do? What did they do? So if Prabhupada said, Tamal Krishna Maharaj, I've mentioned it, I'll mention it again, meeting the religion's professor, asked him, have you read Bhagavad Gita? Yes, I read Bhagavad Gita. Did you understand it? Of course I understood it. Well, what are you going to do? And the look of puzzlement crossing the professor's, face. What do? What? Prabhupada points out that before he came to America, there were so many editions of Bhagavad Gita. But what does Prabhupada point out about all those Gitas? They didn't make a single devotee. He got so many 36 or whatever it was. Prabhupada gives a number at one point in time. There's so many different versions. There was even a movie that Krishna was the caddy and Arjuna was the golfer. It was lessons of life from golfing or something, So there's so many versions of Bhagavad Gita. And all these benedictions from Lord Shiva, but nobody changed. Prabhupada says in the introduction that their core desire to enjoy did not change. So is that really a benediction? Because after all, what is the nub of the issue? What's the cause, the root generator of all of our problems? Material body, okay, but the material body is a symptom. What's the cause? Yeah, we want to enjoy separate from Krishna. That's the problem. Everything flows from that. And you can get any benediction from anywhere you want. You can, go to Mars. Forget Lord Shiva. You can, whatever they're doing. They're going to Mars, right? Yeah. Remind me to tell you about the Polish space program later on. It's an old joke. I'm waiting to take birth where Srila Prabhupada is and tell him that joke while he's having his massage. I can hardly wait, I think Prabhupada will get a chuckle out of it. So anyway, what is the use, either by modern science or by benediction? If the heart doesn't change, you will get the same result. You will be frustrated. Your material lust, greed, anger, envy, anxiety. Prahlad Maharaj had no material benediction. Talk about truth to power. And even though he was in the most distressful situations, he was unagitated. And his father, with all material reason, Prabhupada said he moved his eyebrows. The demigods were in fear. And he was completely in anxiety. He was not a happy camper. He was not a peaceful, he was lusty and angry and envious and always wondering, Lord Vishnu, I'm going to, kill my brother, I'm going to kill him. So he was not happy at all, in spite of having all material opulence. And Prahlad, the 5-year-old boy, was completely peaceful. So the point being, Prabhupada says in the introduction, it's one of those fantastic sentences, those sutras that you could mine forever. Prabhupada says, what is the purpose of Bhagavatam as mentioned in the introduction of Srimad Bhagavatam? What is its purpose? There it is. You're reading the book. Prabhupada speaking to us, the audience, the reader. Hey, this is what this book is for. What's it for? Meant to create a revolution in the impious, misdirected society. What is that misdirection? Mukunda Maharaj points out, Prabhupada liked to take, Prabhupada was a kavi. He was a poet. And he liked to take words and, double meanings and, and Krishna, there's a name for Krishna, means he doesn't speak directly. Just as his form is tribunga, he's curved. He likes to speak, sometimes he speaks very clearly, but sometimes he likes to speak in, nuanced and ways. So, Prabhupada points out, Mukunda Maharaj told me this story, and I think it's in his book, when Prabhupada was on the radio show, and someone called in and said that you're a freeloader, trying to criticize Prabhupada. And Prabhupada, instead of saying, no, I'm not a freeloader, because Prabhupada said, I'm not a beggar, I've come to give. I haven't come to beg anything from you. Well, what can you give me? I've come to give you the priceless jewel. But in this particular case, when she calls him a freeloader, Prabhupada says, yes, I'm a freeloader. And Mukunda Maharaj said that Prabhupada was thinking, he got free passage on Scindia ships, So Prabhupada was this way, he was thinking freeloader. Yes, it's a fact, he got free passage. So Prabhupada took the term, nobody's supposed to be a yes man. A yes man means you have no backbone. You're just, what is it? There's a Bengali word, it means you're just somebody's clerk. It's a sarcastic term. Somebody told, I forget. Yeah, it's like chela or something like that. And I'm sure you've heard it, Raj. But it means you're just somebody's clerk, or they're a yes man, or you have no backbone. You have no, you're just a, unctuous, whatever. Yes man, it's not a good term. Prabhupada says the whole point of Bhagavad Gita, we're talking about the change in the heart. What did they do? The prachetas changed. That's the meaning of getting a benediction. It doesn't, Balaram was making the nice point yesterday. Sure, we want benedictions, but benedictions are flowing all the time. We're just not getting what we want. Actually, that's not an accurate statement. We're not getting what we think we want. The benedictions are flowing. Krishna's sometimes not giving us what we want. But the point is, back to this thing with Mukunda Maharaj, Prabhupada say the whole point of Bhagavad Gita was to turn turn Arjuna from a no man to a yes man. He was saying no to Krishna. No, I don't want to. No, I won't fight. And all of us, Prabhupada, are no men, and we're meant to become yes men. Yes, what does Krishna want? That's the point. So it's that misdirection. The spiritual master, Lord Shiva, gave the means for them to become delivered. He instructed them. You just chant this song and you will go back to Godhead. You will have full realization of Krishna and you'll go back to Godhead. So within the instruction of the spiritual master, Shiva to the Prachetas and all of us, within the instructions, that's the means. The greatest benediction to have that change of heart and become happy both in this world and the next, this life, next life, wherever you are, is that change of heart. And the change of heart, the seed that causes that change of heart, is in the instruction of the spiritual master. So what do we have to do? Because it's talking, what did they do? What did the Prachetas do? Did they turn on their AM, FM radio and forget the song of Lord Shiva and they'd listen to mundane cinema songs, as Prabhupada says? What did they do? They took up the order of Shiva, of Lord Shiva. They took up his instructions. They chanted and meditated on the instructions that he gave them, that song of Lord Shiva. So that's the key to the thing. Prabhupada, sometimes Prabhupada reveals in his purports his deep, there's that Ekeha Kurunandana. And Prabhupada says in that verse in Bhagavad Gita, one pointed instruction. That the materialists, their minds are all over the place, but the devotee's mind is fixed. And what is the devotee's mind fixed on? As manifest, no, other than Dravida, manifest in Srila Prabhupada's talk about a hint, unflinching personal life. What was he fixed on? What was the one-pointed intelligence fixed of Prabhupada's intelligence? What was it fixed on? Anyone know? Want to take a guess? The order of his spiritual master. He was fixed on that. So and within that, and Prabhupada points out that Prabhupada says that actually that order, you've got Prabhupada sweeping in front of Rupa Goswami's samadhi and crying because my guru has given me an impossible order. But we find that A, by executing that order, B, Prabhupada became the topmost realization. And Prabhupada enjoyed like anything. Because he's talking about enjoyment. Prabhupada said to Bhavananda, Bhavananda is actually his name. It's not Baba, it's Bhava. Yeah. And Bhava means one who, Prabhupada said it means one who enjoys the material nature. Bhavananda, when he got that name, he said, boy, Prabhupada sure knows, got my number, And he explained to Prabhupada, you give me this, it doesn't seem like a benediction. To a materialist, back to our theme, it would seem like a benediction. Hey, you can enjoy the material nature. And here's talking about the Prachetas enjoying the material nature. And Prabhupada talks about the purport of how, sometimes devotees, Prabhupada says you can take the excursionary tour. You don't go directly back to Godhead. You can visit the different planets, like Gopal Kumar. In the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, you can visit the different planets. Sometimes devotees get benedictions, strong senses to enjoy. Actually, those strong senses, because I was reading ahead and I was doing a little research, like Prahlad Maharaj, Bali Maharaj, these great devotees, and there's some others like Yudhishthira Maharaj, there's a whole string of them. We're given Dhruva Maharaj, we're given the benediction to have very strong senses and all material facility. if you send a typewriter to heaven, Prabhupada's example, if you send a typewriter to heaven, what will that typewriter become? It'll stay a typewriter. Prabhupada says you send a devotee to heaven or hell or whatever it may be, you put him on a throne, you put him in sweeping the street, he's the same. He just wants to serve Krishna. So these great devotees were given these benedictions so that they could serve Krishna. Krishna needed them, Rajarshi needed them as kings, needed them as leaders, needed them they had a mission, and Krishna gave them full facility. And because they were devotees, that full facility did not bewilder them, did not entrap them, did not entangle them. They took that as, oh, Krishna's giving me this facility for this service. Prabhupada said, my father told me, Prabhupada said his father told him that Krishna has 100 hands. Now, what does Krishna do with those 100 hands? Two things. Dravida. He can take with his 100 hands and he can give with his 100 hands. And Prabhupada said, if someone has 100 hands and they want to take your wallet, what can you do with your 2 hands? And if somebody wants to give with your 100 hands, you can't even take it all in your 2 hands. So Prabhupada said, when I was living in Vrindavan, and Prabhupada, soon after taking sannyas, was gored by a bull. He literally had to drag himself back. I don't know if Prabhupada was staying at Vangsi Gopal Temple or whether he was at Radha Damodar, but he had to drag himself back. He couldn't cook. And he was lying there with his 2 torn dhotis in Vrindavan. Nameless, unknown, it would appear. Known to the 6 Goswamis, but that's another story. And Prabhupada said, I could understand what my father meant when he said Krishna can take with 100 hands. Mukunda Maharaj told me this. And then Prabhupada said, and now, so many temples, so many devotees, so many books, so many festivals. Prabhupada said, now I can understand. I can't even keep track of it with my 2 hands. So Krishna takes with his 100 hands, and he can give with his 100 hands. But the devotee remains constant, remains fixed, remains steady. So the point I'm trying to make is that what is a real benediction? And the real benediction is the instruction of the spiritual master. And within that instruction is all success, is all accomplishment, if one actually does it. That's the test. Do we take it up? It's reciprocal. Lord Shiva gave the instructions, they had to practice them. But within that practice, everything became perfect. And Prabhupada said, back to Bhavananda, his name, and that he was thinking that this is a curse. I already want to enjoy it, now Krishna. And Prabhupada then told him, I have given you Mayapur. I have given you the kingdom of God, take it and enjoy. And Prabhupada said, develop it for Krishna. And it's true. I mean, Bhavananda, Jayapataka Maharaj, they're the co-directors. And they both get co-credit. I mean, Bhavananda did, and look at the TOVP, It's a fantastic building. It really is. So my simple point I'm making is that when the devotee takes up as his only, when there's that change of heart, that let me take the order of my spiritual master. I may not understand it. I may not think I can fulfill it. Why is he telling me that? He doesn't understand. He doesn't know this. He doesn't know that. He doesn't, bogus. You take it up with one fixed intelligence, and within that comes all success, to the point that one simply enjoys. It's the Sanskrit. It's a devotee, wherever he looks, he sees happiness. We quoted it yesterday. Yeah, that for a devotee, wherever he looks, he sees happiness. Prabhupada is cooking his khichdi in Calcutta, and it wasn't the Japanese. It was during World War II. It was Subhash Chandra Bose, had marched up through, Burma, and they were shelling Calcutta. Everybody fled. And when Prabhupada had just made that nice khichdi, Prabhupada was thinking, well, if it hits me, here comes Krishna. So he was not disturbed. He wasn't a fool, but but what could you do? So maybe we'll end there. What I wanted to say it's along the same theme, is this word yadricha, which means by providence. So I have my thought, which wasn't quite accurate, of what by providence means. We know that providence means by the will of God. Okay. But it means more than that. The Latin root of the word providence, and I forget the Latin, but it means to see in the future. So the full meaning of we say by the will of providence. By the will of providence I've met you. That's that verse, one meets a pure devotee. Oh, here's another person which goes into our theme. The beggar who met Sanatana Goswami for the touchstone also was benedicted by Lord Shiva. That's how he got the benediction. But he got the benediction to realize that, what did the beggar, or whatever he was, who met Sanatana Goswami and got the touchstone which turns anything into a gold, where was Sanatana Goswami keeping that touchstone? And what if he's keeping such a valuable thing in the garbage, what did the man intelligently conclude? There's got to be something else. And sure enough, it was the holy name. So that was another benediction. So the thing is, by the will of providence, means that the Latin root of the word providence means to see into the future. It means to see into the future. You with me? And so Krishna can see in the future what is good for us. Maybe that, I didn't get my girlfriend, or my puppy got hit by a car, or, whatever, that your traumatic event, why did God do this? Because Krishna can see into the future, and he knows what's good for us in the future. Like a billiard ball, you hit it and it goes ding, 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 and this one hits that one, which hits this one, which is that one, and the one you wanted falls in the pocket. So it's not a straight course. So the simple point is the benediction, the real benediction that tops all material benedictions is the instruction of the spiritual master. And even though we may not understand it, because it's coming from Krishna, the representative of God, it can see into the future that if you execute this order, it will give you the highest benediction. You will enjoy in this world, because everywhere you'll see Krishna and Krishna's service, and you will go back to Godhead. But there's one thing required. We'll end here. I've already said it. I'm going to repeat it. Everything is there. We see Lord Shiva gives them their instruction. Everything is contained within it. We see their fantastic success in this life and the next life. But what is the one thing? They have to do it. They have to do it. Okay, so we can end there. We're over time. If no one has a burning question, we're all up against breakfast. Anyone got a question? All right, we'll end with the joke. We'll end there. We'll tell the joke. Thank you very much. I hope it's okay for Bhagavatam class. It's innocent enough. And the point being, wherever you go, whatever you're after, what do you actually get? So, and I hope nobody minds me picking on the Polish. We have the Polish Yatra. I don't want to get a bunch of emails about, why, whatever it is. Anywhere I pick, just for fun. So, did you hear that the Polish folks have started a space program? No way. Yeah. But, they've already gone to the moon, so they say, they've gone to Venus, they're going to Mars. They're going to go somewhere else. I mean, if you go to the same place, if you're the third or fourth or fifth person, what's the glory in that? You want to do something new, right? Fresh. First. Be the first. So you know where they're going to go? They're going to go to the sun. People told me, you can't go to the sun. Are you nuts? You're going to burn up. They said, no, we thought about it. We're going at night. Ha. I can hardly wait to tell Prabhupada. All right. So whatever you get, it's useless unless you get the order of the spiritual master. And that's the real benediction. Hare Krishna. He Govinda.